Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful podcast. Thanks for joining us on this Monday evening. Of course, as always, we are live with you guys on YouTube. So make sure you guys hit that little thumbs up, hit the little bell, subscribe, help support the channel, blah, blah, blah. I know it's boring to ask, but it really helps us out. Jason and I are very much appreciative. And also, guys, I love the chat. The chat's been flooded the last couple episodes. Keep it going. It makes this show so much funner. Even we had Seth Levitt on. He loved the chat and he loved the questions. So if you guys have any questions, even what we're talking about tonight, go ahead and put it in the chat. And also the video comments during the show or after. Leave what you liked about the show, good or bad. We read it all and we really enjoy it. And that also helps the channel. So we really appreciate that, guys. But it's Monday, like I said. I hope everybody, to all the fathers out there, had a happy Father's Day yesterday and had a great weekend. Hopefully you did a bunch of nothing and got to relax. But it's back to business here. Dolphins completed phase 3 of but this was the mandatory mini camp last week. That's the last one until they get a little break here heading into training camp. So we're going to recap all that, put a bow on it, and kind of give you our top stories one by one coming out of camp. And we won't tell you all, but I'll tease a couple. There is going to be a quarterback talk, and I will say this. Jason doesn't even know this. There's some things that I like the Dolphins are doing now with their quarterbacks I think is going to be beneficial for them going forward. And I don't think they did it before. So that might be a little hope as far as, in case Tua gets hurt or anything. We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll also talk a little culture change. And there was one comment by a player who opened my eyes, and I don't think it bodes well for Mr. Mike McDaniel. So we'll get into that. I got a little rant on that. But with that being said, let me bring in the partner of crime, the co-host, Jason Sarney. Jason, hope you had a good Father's Day yesterday, man. How was it?
Yeah, very relaxing. We catered in, no cooking, no craziness, just really had some family over, so it was very enjoyable. And happy Father's Day out there to every father out there, and appreciate everybody joining us tonight.
Yes. Should be a good one. We have, again, a bunch of cool graphic shots. The dive bars in here. Jake is in here already. Beach 99 is in the house. So we already got the chat rolling. Let's keep it going. Let's get everybody here. Everybody come on YouTube tonight. Join us. This is going to be a fun one. Before we start, let's go over a little bit, just some little bookkeeping here. Jonnu Smith situation. I know we've kind of touched on it, but his agent Drew Rosenhaus was on Sports Extra. That's his weekly segment he has on local news here in Miami. He basically said nothing has been resolved yet. It's still an ongoing situation. I would say that it will be resolved, I think, by training camp, but it's still very active right now, and there's nothing been finalized at this juncture. Well, boy, quickly on this, I go back and forth every day whether I think he will be here or not. I get the sense maybe they're negotiating a contract here, so I'm becoming a little bit more hopeful. Sorry, I'm teeter-tottering. Seems like every week I have a different opinion on it, but I'll put it to you this way, Jason. I wouldn't be surprised either way if I got news that he got traded to Pittsburgh or somewhere, or they re-signed him on a 2-year deal.
Gun to head, I think he stays. I mean, I honestly think that when push comes to shove, we will see Jonnu Smith and the Dolphins agree to an extension. And I'm not saying that's happening. I do think we're going to see that tweet one morning. That's usually kind of when it happens, I feel like. I do think that you're not going to get a third or a fourth for Jonnu. And it might just be better for all parties to give him a little bit of extra money, which they have and can find, especially when some other money comes off the books, which it will. So, obviously we're not talking about Tony Gonzalez. I realize that. We're talking about a soon-to-be 30-year-old tight end who had a terrific franchise-breaking year. It's not his only occurrence, folks. We've gone over this. But ultimately, I think it will be best for every single party if he's here another year. Just give him that other year. Give him a couple more bucks. Let's go. That's it.
Yeah, if you're asking me today and I had $100 to put on which way he's going, I guess I'd lean maybe 70-30 that he signs the extension. But again, this is a fluid situation. He could find there could be a team out there that will give him the money he wants because this is his lot. I do understand where Jonnu's coming from. He's 30. What is he, 30, 31, or he's going to be 30? He came off
he's 29 now. He's going to be 30.
He came off a big year. And I do understand the Dolphins spot where they're thinking, well, like you kind of benefited from what we had on the outside and the way the defenses were playing us, it was pretty much wide open in the middle. But again, he did convert. You can't take away the stats he had all time at that position for the Dolphins. But my guess would be today they get something done. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if it went the other way. I love a good percentage. So I'm going 70-30 on Jonnu Smith. All right. You ready to get into the top stories coming out of minicamp? You ready to get into it?
That's right.
All right. We got some cool graphics for you. Hope I'm always a fan of that. Let's bring up the first one. Here we go. All right. First story coming out is the rookie class. Early impressions. We've had a couple of guys on. We've got some positive things to say. I'll start here, Jason. I think this class, you get a feel for a rookie class early on. I preface this by saying we are early. There's no pads on. With everything we're going to talk about today, no pads have been put on. It's early in the process. But you get a sense about a rookie class pretty early on. And I like what I'm seeing, especially from the top two guys. We've had draft classes before, or the most recent ones, honestly, is this guy, you could tell pretty clearly early on he wasn't ready to contribute. Maybe one of them is, but you might have one guy who contributes. This class, these two guys, and they happen to be on the line of scrimmage, I think they got the respect of their teammates already. They see the way they work, and I'll read you some comments from some of the guys, the way they work, and it just happens to be on the trenches. These are two starters early on that I think are going to contribute. And I think more than what they've seen on the field, it's how they go about their business is the most impressive. And I think finally this is the kind of draft we've been waiting for, where we have two guys who I think immediately are pillars on the team and will contribute early and impactful. Jason, your thoughts early on let's start with the top two guys, that kind of impression you're getting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're as advertised. You want a new identity, a new culture. So you start 1-2 in the draft with defensive trench, offensive trench. So I love it from right off the bat. And early showings of Kenneth Grant, physicality is there, speed is there. I think he just looks the part. So really no concern about Kenneth Grant. And when being thrown into the fire, being essentially the second defensive tackle on this team right now, I think he's going to be, absolutely in the mix for maybe even, I hate saying it, but think about it. He's going to have 80 snaps. He could be a rookie of the year candidate if he does what he's supposed to do on the defensive side of the ball. So very excited to watch him work in the training camp and regular season mode. And Jonas Savaiinaia, did I do it right? How'd I do? But
we'll take it.
We'll work on it.
That's pretty as good as I've heard.
We're still working on a nickname. Someone's got to come up with an amazing nickname so we can just call Jonah that. But I am very curious to see where he's going to play sidewise. But I think when you fill in one of those guard spots, he's the exact thing you need on the offensive line. So top two, terrific.
And that's something we're going to talk about when we get to the O-line of this section is which side are they going to line up. Going back to Grant, I'm gonna. This is what I was kind of talking about. Let me read McDaniel's quote. One of the quotes he had. He said on Grant. He said early on, I could tell he had the respect and regard of veteran teammates by the little things that he does, understanding the importance of his role in the team. McDaniel said he came in with a veteran-like understanding of needing to be 100% on what he's asked to do and his techniques and his fundamentals. And the last part, he works endlessly. And that's the thing we heard. When we did all our drafts, so these are the things we heard about him. He's a big 330, 40-pound guy, but he's a worker. He has stamina. He's not this, I don't want to mention the other Jordan Phillips, the one we had, who I thought of? Remember Manny Wright? Was it Manny Wright, the defensive tackle that Jimmy Johnson had? But this guy's at work. It's big when you hear their teammates talk about him like this. It's going to be I have a really good feeling about these two guys. I can't shake it, and it's good. I'm going to get heat because I remember early on I go, look, I wouldn't take Savaiinaia at 13. But I wouldn't. You could sell me on it, right? Now, it wouldn't be great value. I'm not saying I would have done it, but that's the type of player I thought, big, fast, physical. Look what Butch Berry said on him, on Jonah. You see a big body guy that's really explosive, that can run. He's heavy-handed, can anchor the pocket, but explosive in the run game. Exactly what I thought we were getting out of him. And Butch, he's an honest guy, right? Mm-hmm. Butch tells it like it is. So I think we got two starters. I think this was the draft really good draft. And if this indeed was a Chris Greer uninfluenced draft, thumbs up to him. I so far, we're we're not there yet, right?
I mean, look, what's good is that the same characteristics that we're talking about the top two, you could say about at least 4 of those 8 overall picks. You hear what, a collegiate coach says about his players now, both here in Dante Trader Jr. and Jordan Phillips, workers, leaders. Dante Trader called quarterback of the secondary. Jordan Phillips in the weight room at 4 o'clock, 4:30, not necessarily posting his workouts on social media to sell or show off. No, he's all about getting better. And at 20 years old, going to be 21 at the end of this month, Jordan Phillips is scratching the surface of what he could be as a football player, but as a veteran professionalism type of a man, this guy's way beyond his years. Sign me up for Jordan Phillips and his potential. Because when it's time to sign a second contract, he'd be 24, 25. It's going to be unbelievable. That's where he's maybe earlier with an extension, But
with that kind of strength he already has at 20 years old, I'm afraid what I'm going to see.
But one thing
people
about
say,
him,
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Before we get on, other rookies, he might not fill a stat sheet like Kenneth Grant could eventually, or maybe even early on, fill a stat sheet.
He's a zero tech, I think. Yeah,
correct. And he's going to take up double teams. That wrestling background for Phillips is such leverage physically that he's going to be able to help his teammates eat. And I can't wait to see what this entire front seven does. But I mean, when you're talking about your second defensive lineman rookie having that type of a leadership quality, which has proven in his past that he has, I can't wait to see it in the pros.
Yeah, and let's go. I'm going to go a point beyond that. I think these 3 defensive tackles, we got Zeke Biggers. We heard what Bo said about him. We had Bo Camper on. Bo was expecting to see some big sloppy guy. Not him. 6'6", unbelievably long arms, 34-inch vertical for a player of that size. That shows you explosive lower half. I'm going to say this. I think obviously Grant's going to contribute. I think all 3 of these guys will see the field at some point. I think they really reworked this room. It's something they should have done. And look, in the future, with the whole Zach Sealer stuff, you just added 3 young defensive tackles to that group. Now, we're not saying we want to move off Zach Sealer, but you added 3 guys. And, as Biggers, I think, Jason, is another guy I think will contribute a little bit.
Not just on the defensive line. Day 3 picks, you look at where they can contribute in special teams. 6'6", long arms, vertical. He can block field goals. Maybe. If he does 1, it's a win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he could be a guy who could be a two-faced player. The agility and athleticism for his size at the position. I believe he has the basketball background, which he, had earlier in his life. And he has that athletic ability as a bigger person. Imagine a guy moving in the post as a defensive tackle. So
he might
him too.
Yeah, he could play a little if they run a 3-4 package, he could play a little of that end that
he could
that 3 or below 5 tech. He could play a little bit of that. I think that length, because he's what 6'6", 6'20". Yeah, it's massive, and he's more athletic than I think people give him credit for. Weaver said it himself. He was surprised Biggers was on the board in the 7th round. So it's obviously he was a guy he was targeting. But I really like this group of 3 here coming in together with obviously Grant leading the pack. But I do like it. I think they all see the field. Trader, another guy. Dante was a guy, we liked the tape. The testing was bad, real bad. It was undrafted testing. But what I wanted to see is when he hits the field, comes out of the elevator from college to pros, how does he look with these kind of athletes? He had an interception, almost had another one. So a positive sign here for Trader that he's making plays. Now, here's the thing about rookies. They're going to be inconsistent. They're going to be up and down. But you want to hear little tidbits of, man, this guy looks good, or he looked good on this play. You want to start hearing those positive notes. And with Trader, we'll talk about the defensive back room, but that safety room I don't think is totally set as everybody thinks what's in front of him. But yet Trader, good to hear, Jason, some good things coming out of camp from him so far.
I am very, very excited to see him play. The best part about a lot of these rookies, a ton of them, is that they are going to be in a position to see significant snaps because of the rooms that they're in. And safety right now, this is no knock on the current Dolphins, but they have a bunch of individuals from veterans to the rookies, and including an undrafted free agent, who could make noise and maybe start in one of those two positions or see significant snaps in the form of a rotation. Again, I hate to be the guy to talk about special teams, but there's 3 phases of football. Special teams is important. And Dante Trader Jr., there's so many different types of special teams positions in terms of coverage, return. He can play them all. He can do every single thing because he did it even being a starter on the defensive side. His coach in Maryland did not necessarily love using players as starters in multiple starting special teams roles. He did so with Trader. He has the, smarts to do so. He's a brilliant kid. And we all know the lacrosse background, the multi-sport athleticism. Lacrosse is a sport that you want in a football player because it needs hitting, it needs toughness, it needs agility, stamina, everything you need. In that sport, you could translate on the football field minus a stick. So I think Dante Trader Jr., pound for pound, pick for pick, dollar for dollar, maybe the best pick of this draft when it's all said and done. Obviously not including, a first rounder in Kenneth Crane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be in a couple of years. You're looking back and saying they hit another 5th round safety. Rashad Jones from a while back. Dante Trader could be.
Yeah, I'll give you an old name. Remember Jeremiah Bell in the 7th round?
Similar.
I'll even go back more. Sean Wooden,
Notre Dame. Zach Thomas draft here.
Yeah. 96 draft, man. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar draft. We're aging ourselves a little bit. He was one of my favorites. I had a special place. That 96 running back class was pretty good, by the way. But some of these guys weren't even born. We're aging ourselves. All right, remember I mentioned you want to hear little things, and you mentioned one guy. They always hit on a UDFA corner. BJ Adams, we both thought he was a draftable grade. Long corner, very slight, but making some waves. And again, that's what you want to hear before we get to camp. Pads aren't on. Jason, BJ Adams, could he be that guy?
I mean, look, 6'3", lengthy, long, and in a room where, gun to head, who are the top 2 outside cornerbacks? I don't know. I would take the bullet. I can't answer that. Wow, Alvin Jackson, way back. Man.
Oh, we got another one, John Avery. Oh,
running back, my God.
Bro, confidence, John Avery.
We cannot start naming running backs.
Wait, little story. I was young. I went to an autograph session at a little mobile phone store to get his autograph, John Avery. And when I was taller than him, I was like, this is going to be a problem. When I was big.
Wow. We can have a whole other show on drafting players.
Everybody who's watching everywhere else, come on over to YouTube. Join us the fun. We got topics going on. Get in the chat. Ask your questions on each topic. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We're going through all the topics coming out of that mandatory mini camp because that's it. That's phase 3. After that, we go straight into training camp at the end of July.
Cecil the Diesel.
Oh, Cecil Collins, yeah. That's my brother, Clown Prince. He knows we've been through these stories together. He's been through the wars. John Avery means no. We could do a whole show on just the draft. This
is a good class, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a good class. With John Avery, Randy Moss, they were going to take Vinny Holiday, wasn't it? I think it was in that draft.
Vonnie?
Vonnie Holiday. Yeah, Vinny Holiday. Vonnie Holiday. I remember that. What was that draft? It was Cecil, Rob Conrad, James Johnson. Boy, we've come a long way. Now we're losing viewers because of all of our old past. We should do a show of draft horror stories because I got a bunch of them.
I don't know if that's opening up like gateways to bad past or thoughts, but no.
Yeah,
maybe we'll think.
Shout out to Sammy and Finn's TV. Shout out to him. Yeah, the Packers got. They got him with the Dolphins. It was a 19, right? All right. Ollie Gordon looked quick. He's looking quick, and that's big because what was the thing coming out about him? Not very explosive. Doesn't have a lot of creativity, and sometimes it just happens. Guys get on the field in the NFL, and they just all of a sudden you see what they really are, and maybe we're getting a little bit more of the 23 Ollie Gordon. I've heard some good things. He's looked quick. He's had some nice runs. He's caught the ball well, Jason. These are all things positive. Again, it's early. I'm going to keep repeating this. The pads are not on. But again, it's better to hear these things than negative things. Ollie Gordon, another guy who's been looking pretty good.
No, absolutely. Very fluid pass catcher out of the backfield, 80 collegiate receptions. I think he could be a willing pass protector, and I think he could push a pile forward if running through one of the gaps. So you're looking at a 3-in-1 specialist, meaning third or fourth and short on the goal line, give it to Ollie Gordon. Midfield, short yardage situation, same idea. If you need a pass protector on 3rd and 7, maybe he could do it. You give Achane, an opportunity maybe to move out to the slot at the same time. You don't rely on a Jalen Wright to have to pick up that kind of heavy yardage. You use him maybe almost as a Raheem Mostert role to Achane from 2 years ago, right? And maybe find some kind of a absolute perfect way to use Achane based on last year's pass catching ability too. But Gordon is a guy who maybe eventually could be a 20-touch running back. But for this rookie season, I think he will complement the top two extremely well in multiple specialty areas.
Yeah. Any of the other UDFA guys? Jarris McPhail. I remember Jarris McPhail. That was the other pick. He was a speedster out of ECU. That's how much I know draft stuff. I don't know how I knew that, but he was a one trick pony. He'd actually probably fit good in this wide this Mike McDaniel offense. Jarris McPhail.
Hey, would have loved to see what Charles Clay could do in this kind of offense too. The original.
Oh, wait. How about Leonard Henry?
All right, we gotta stop. We gotta get off this.
We're losing viewers. Let's get this show back on track. All right.
Ollie Gordon.
Oh man.
Listen, I think he could contribute as a rookie. Am I telling you to go risk it all in your fantasy teams because he's going to be this year's golden child from a rookie running back? Maybe not just yet, but dynasty fantasy owners, pick yourself.
We're not telling you to go buy some Ollie Gordon jerseys yet. Hold off.
Buy stock,
but not the maybe a T-shirt, printed T-shirt. They're a little cheaper.
There you
go. All right. Any other UDFA? John Sanders. I heard a little bit of noise about the safety. Anything else stand out to you with that rookie class? Any of the UD? Andrew Armstrong had a couple catches.
I'm looking on the offensive line, specifically guard. If there's, a guy, Preby from Michigan, also maybe a center to compete. They had Andrew Mayer from UTEP, who was an undrafted last year at center.
They like him a lot.
They like him a lot, right? So, outside of Jalen Connors, look,
I haven't heard anything on him. It's okay. We're still early on.
Correct. I mean, look, if Jonnu Smith is traded, his name gets instantly flamed as hot with someone who might be able to be that next undrafted who makes the team.
15th round pick, no matter what, Ollie go. We'll have some fantasy stuff for you guys.
Oh, yeah, that's coming later, 100%.
Yeah, my league last year, he won. We're having a Fins Faithful League again. Jason, you're going to get in it. I'll send you. He won last year, so we'll see.
All right. So he's already got the marker.
He's already
got the target. But BJ Adams is the guy that our buddy Justin Mello put out a piece on in the draft work. So go read that. He is a guy that's going to contend on the boundary.
We'll have Justin on again. He's great. He does great work. So check out his stuff.
Jason Marshall Jr. Don't sleep on him from Florida.
Jason Marshall Jr. I'm glad you mentioned him. I forgot to mention
drafted 5th rounder. Look, they're 3 fifth rounders.
We haven't heard much on him either. Only the one play where Malik beat him, but he had really good coverage. It was an unbelievable throw by Tua. Sure. But corners you don't want to hear too much about. Like if they're quiet, again, we'll see with training camp. He's a guy to keep an eye on. Again, it's wide open. Overall, I'll sum it up. I like what I've seen. I like what I heard. I have a good feeling about these guys, especially at the top. I just like this class. That's my feeling. I'll sum it up with that. You, Jason?
I do, and I think that there are at least two undrafteds that are going to make the 53.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is a corner one of them?
Maybe, but the numbers for me is I hate to say 2 to 3, but the floor to me is 2.
Yeah. All right. So I'll agree with that. That sounds about right. All right. Let's move on to the next one. The pass rush trio. You want to start here, Jason, or are you?
Sure. I would love to because this potential of them getting all in the rotation or on the field, what have you, at the same time, because that's not happened yet, clearly. Rookie Chop did not have any Chubb from that 2 seasons ago, week 17 injury, because Bradley was out all last year. Obviously, everyone knows about the multiple-year comeback story for Jalen Phillips, but you're going to have an opportunity where both of these guys, Chubb and Phillips, are starting the season with Chop as their complementary rotational piece. And there was a time, 2003, prior to both the Phillips and the Chubb injuries, where this team was rocking and rolling as a top 3 sack-producing team. Jalen Phillips finished that season, which was shortened with his Achilles, on a tear, a 7-game sack streak, I believe. And within 3 of those games, Chubb had his own streak, and they coincided with having 3 games with sacks in the same game. And then you throw in the potential of Chop, who had an unbelievable second half of his rookie season and became one of the better rookie sack artists and pressure producers almost in the league from weeks 9 on. So you take that momentum into a full season of potential. Look, their numbers overall as a team clearly was not as well as high in sacks as 2023, but these 3 can be one of the most potent trios if they stay healthy and things go right, and the defensive line is going to help them with the amount of space that they're going to eat up as well.
Yeah, I think the first thing is the health is going to be the number one with these guys. It all looks good so far, encouraging signs and words from Phillips. Chubb looks like he's back. Did they all 3 have orange jerseys, or is it 2 of the 3?
I believe
Phillips. I don't remember seeing that before.
You know what? I think that they all hit the orange at one point.
Yeah, but they're pretty close too, especially
either one.
Yeah, Chubbs and Phillips are close personally. Off the field, I think also with Chop. Let's quote here what Jalen Phillips said on the trio before I give you my thoughts. He says, "Yeah, man, this is Jalen Phillips on them getting on the field together." He said, "Yeah, man, we've been talking about it since Chop got here for real, but it will be cool to actually get to do it. Also, just another year under the belt for our defense. Talking about Anthony Weaver, getting the plays together. I think you will see things open up a little more, so it will be exciting," Phillips said of the trio of pass rushers. Here's my take on it, right? This is very important because we mentioned all the way from Ben Albright was on here. This was the goal of the offseason, to put more resources and anticipating these guys coming back from injury, and that you saw them draft 3 defensive tackles for this front 7 to be as dominant as possible and get as much pressure as possible and cause havoc. So it relieves pressure on the corners, especially if you're mixing up man and zone. So maybe you don't have to pay $20 million to a corner. And you could see, whether you like it or not, we could talk about them adding a corner. They haven't done yet. They're obviously not, and we'll talk about the cornerback group. I don't want to get too much into it, but they're obviously not kind of either they have a plan coming up, but they're not like doing everything they possibly can to bring in one. That being said, I'm excited to see what Weaver can do and where he's going to line these guys up, right? Who's going to be the move guy? Who's going to be that old Jason Taylor position? Thing about Chop blitzes so well in the A gap and B guy. He's so good at that. It's Phillips. You have them all 3 and send Phillips in coverage or disguise it. It's there's so many possibilities. I don't think you'll see it. It's situational, right? I don't think you'll see it a lot, but it also rotating these guys in keeps these other 2 guys healthy. Even Chop, Chop's young, but it even gives them a breath. You can put one after the other. You can have Chop with Phillips with Chop. It's so interesting to see what Anthony Weaver, because he obviously had a plan. Because when I was taken aback when Albright told me about it, and he's been spot on. I mentioned him. I keep mentioning it because we got to get him back on. He's been spot on with everything he said. Like, they're committed to the front 7.
Yep.
So guys, I'm not surprised. That's when I was struggling with the Jedi Barron stuff. Right 2 days before the draft, I said they're not doing this. I kept going back to what I was hearing, and this is and you see in their actions, cornerback is not for them such a pressing need. Now, are they really good at there? No, they're probably in the bottom of the league in cornerback personnel, but they believe in these guys, and these 3 guys, I think, creating pressure along with the young defensive tackle groups. And don't forget Zach Sealer, man, this could be dangerous. And Weaver really, you can tell he's kind of in that lab thinking about how he's going to do this. And I have a question for you in the chat. Who leads the team in sacks? I'll go Chop. I'll go Chop. Wow. What's the over-under on all 3? Give me an over-under on all 3 of them sack total.
Oh man. Well, yeah, you have to throw Zach Sealer in the mix to lead in because he's 10 plus the last 2 years. So
Out of those three, just out of those three.
Is Chop. I mean, for Phillips, he
Boy, I like this.
you
The
know,
three rush Katir. We got to put that in the shirt.
the Phillips, I think, had 7.5 as he was injured. But he was on pace to have a career year. Let's you know what? I mean, for Phillips, over 7.5. Oh, that would be great. You know,
Phillips, yeah.
So let's keep that
I'm
number.
going double. Chop, I'm putting high expectations on Chop. I want double digits.
Chop could hit double digits, but
9.5.
Let's go 9.5, and Chubb. Let's go 9.5 as well.
That's a little high for me for Chubb, but but I like if we got 30 sacks out of all three of them combined. Is that enough for you?
Well, that would be great because then you have to add, anywhere.
I hope somebody's getting 14 sacks. Is my point. You know what I mean?
I hope they all stay healthy.
Yeah,
like I love stats. We all know this. I love picking, but ultimately, if it's raw statistics versus everyone's eating equally, I would love 4 guys with over 8 sacks. How about that?
Yeah.
That would, that would be the best.
32. There you go.
Well, but just those 4 alone.
Yeah, just those 4. You get 4 or 5 here and there from other guys, hopefully. But yeah, I think the biggest thing we're going to take away from this is maybe this is the reason why is a change from Fangio to Weaver, the philosophy of the emphasis on the front seven. I think next year they might go after a linebacker in the draft, a really high end. They have Brooks. Like they think Weaver thinks the front seven is the key to this thing. And don't mistake it. We're not saying that you don't have to have corners, but you don't have to invest and go out and spend $21 million, $18 million on a corner when maybe you can get young and develop one, maybe a Marshall or a Storm Duck or Kahu, and add a veteran to the group, but you're getting so much pressure up front. Yeah, it's great to have both. But, I mean, I don't know. I still think they need to improve the corner room, but I'm just letting you know what their philosophy is. And I'm excited for these 3 guys and see what they can do this year.
I'm very excited. I'm also excited to see what the pressure that they produce. They might not necessarily
health though.
Correct. They might not necessarily look on times where they don't get a sack, but these 3 can create such havoc individually where maybe they throw an errant, their pressure forces an errant pass where Kader Kohu out of the slot gets a gifted reception, where these boundary cornerbacks might be able to break on a ball because a quarterback throws it too early and they just got him. You know what I mean? Guys like Terrell Dodson in coverage, Jordan Brooks being opened up to, get his own sack here or there. The potential's there for the front seven. It's going to make everything easier. This is a terrific front seven group. And
guys, thanks for everybody who's joining us in the chat. If you're watching anywhere else, tell them, Jason, come on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and get involved in the show. We're having a fun time tonight. We're going to take you through a bunch of topics, and I want your questions in the chat. Jason, I know you do too, right? You love
I like questions. Throw them on up there.
Yeah.
And, the chat, we appreciate it. There's a lot of names that we see week in, week out. Jake, Sammy, Clown,
everybody.
Fellas over at the dive bar. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. Next topic. Well, you mentioned the defensive back room. Who will emerge?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll start here. I just think if we're right now, it's very clear Storm Duck, Kader Kahu are the outside guys.
I mean, look, sure, and we had Seth Levitt on the podcast.
Yes.
He loves himself some Kader Kohu, and we said, look, he's a slot guy, but as Seth said, if he has to go to the boundary, he is a dog in a good way, that he is a guy who can probably just pick up, he played some outside, but his slot game is what we really would love for him to be. That means someone's got to step up on the outside, not named Storm Duck, if assuming Storm Duck solidifies that top boundary role. So it's fluid. But for me, I would just love to just know the Kader's in the slot because someone's going to win those 1 and 2 jobs. Storm and Marshall, Storm and Adams. Ethan Bonner, put up or shut up. I love the kid. I love the story. But you know what? Is this the year that he could translate fantastic June work and July and August into October, November, December? Not yet, but let's see. Let's see.
The question here is who, if you're going to move, they're going to add somebody to the group. I think 2 things are at play here. Either the Asante Samuel stuff, that his neck injury or shoulder, in July he gets cleared. He can't sign anywhere until he gets cleared. I think they're either waiting for that situation to play out, or they got a number out there that they don't want to go above. Again, we mentioned the priority on the front seven, that whichever one of these veteran guys bite, I don't think they care which one. Obviously, they like probably, let's say they have Rasul Douglas as the highest one. They'd like him to bite. But, like, if somebody else does, they'll take it. They'll add a veteran. My only concern about Kohu is I think he's better in the inside, right? But they have no choice right now. So that's why you're hoping, man, can a Jason Marshall Jr. take an opportunity? I find it hard to believe that he can do that day one starting. Who's the veteran? Artie Burns.
Artie Burns.
I'm just not confident in Artie Burns. If that's me. Isaiah Johnson's a guy who I've always liked, and he's been turning some heads.
Yep.
He's 6'3". I thought he came in last year. He was in that group with him, Duck, and Jason Matre, right?
Yeah.
Those guys. Any of these guys you like to surprise and emerge? Any of these young guys out of Johnson, Marshall Jr. We'll mention Cam Smith after this because our friend Bo Camper kind of leaked something out, or even a BJ. Any of these guys you like, if you say this guy I think has the most realistic chance to kind of take a jump and surprise everybody, because I don't know if you agree with me. I like Kohor in the slot.
Me too. No, I've been saying it almost to the point of neglecting the potential of him moving to the outside because I'm so hopeful that they find a guy who they're confident of putting there, keeping Cater in the slot. So you're not kind of at half strength at two positions. You're at least full strength at one of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So listen, I think that I'll answer it like this. Yeah. One of Isaiah Johnson or BJ Adams will make this 53-man roster. So I would say that those two would battle for the last spot. And that might leave another guy out. I'm sorry, but let's see what you got.
Yeah, I agree. I think Johnson's intriguing. I've always been intrigued. 6'3". Again, you got to be careful though. I know people. It's just mini camp. But it's better that they're making plays than you see them getting beat, right? But I do have to hold myself back and say we've seen it before. Like Tanner Connor every year is the. I remember who's the wide receiver that we signed from the Jaguars who was killing it in training camp, big receiver. I forget his name, but
last year?
No, a few years ago, maybe a while back. Ernest Wilford.
Okay.
Was that him? These guys have great camps, and then all of a sudden the lights shine in the regular season. It's a different ballgame. So we're really going back with names from the past here. I hope we're not offending many Dolphin fans with some of these names, but you got to be careful when you see some things. But it's always better that they do this than giving up the big plays. And you can't. But on the other hand, you can improve. Nick Needham. I remember he had an awful preseason game. What did he do? Kept getting better, and turned. So that's another thing. It's still early, and we're always going to emphasize.
And something to keep in mind. I'm glad you mentioned now Cleveland Brown, Nick Needham, and he was cut, and he did not.
Good for Nick. I hope Nick. Nick earned everything he got here. Yeah.
And just to give an inspirational story about where his path started. Yes, he was an undrafted free agent, but he did not make the initial 53-man roster. He was cut, but then brought back to a practice squad who was told, do this, do that, and the other thing. And he did this, that, and the third times 10. And he had an undrafted free agent call up with the Xavier Howard injury and had a good season. And then the next season, eventually became the slot specialist, which he never did. He didn't. He never did in college. He was asked to move to the slot. He did well. But things happen, coaches, injuries, what have you. But if an undrafted free agent is cut and practice squatted, obviously we all know that doesn't mean that their career with the Dolphins is over. They can be elevated week 4, week 5, week 7, what have you.
Yeah, true. If those, I'll answer the question I asked you. Of those guys, I think that could emerge. I think Storm Duck is definitely a starter. He's one of the starters. If one of those guys, man, I hope it's Marshall Jr. I like Isaiah Johnson. I hope he kind of take. I don't have. There's not a can't miss there. There's not a guy who I could say, yeah, he's definitely going to take the reins. All these guys could be cut, right? As much as they can. make an impact and emerge. So they still don't have enough there. I think they'll be bringing in a veteran. But if all the young guys, Isaiah Johnson's long, he's an outside corner, and he's also been there in a year. So, if one of the guys can emerge, I kind of hope it's him, and also Jason Marshall Jr. I'll tell you, Jason Marshall Jr. has the most tools, I think, to be a starting corner in the league, and that'd be really great because he's a rookie and part of the draft class. Oh, don't bring this one up. Oh,
listen, everyone out there,
this hurt me.
This is a favor. Don't use the word bust with the teal green.
Oh no, he was a dog in that first
injury, yeah. And he tried like hell to come back and nearly did it. Such a horrible, unfortunate circumstance. Hurricane receiver gets to the Dolphins, not even a couple of days in, or weeks in, he just hurts his knee. But not a bust.
No.
A horribly unfortunate scenario.
All right.
Work like hell to get back.
So I think we agree defensive back room needs work, needs more talent, needs a veteran.
Yeah.
Of the young guys to emerge. Undrafted wise, we like BJ Adams, and rookie Isaiah Johnson and Jason Marshall Jr. I think are the two guys that we hope.
Well, Isaiah Johnson, not the rookie. He's the undrafted from last year.
Yeah, and then rookies Jason Marshall Jr. Correct. All right. New look O-line.
Oh boy.
I think the first two questions, guys, again, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Come on, if you're watching any other platform, please take a second. Come on over to YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. Come watch us here. Get in the chat. We enjoy this. We're going through Dolphins topics, and we got a lot of fun ones coming up, even the best ones here towards the end of the show. So stay with us. All right. The O-line. Two questions here. Is it better than last year's? Right? Is James Daniels fully healthy? And I'll add another question. Which side is he going to play on, him and Jonnu? All right. I don't think we know that yet. I'm going to say that, yes, this unit's better. And I'll tell you why I think it's better. You obviously lost Teron Armstead, right? You're not replacing. We don't have a Teron Armstead of this roster. But I will say Patrick Paul is somebody I was very – and I got to hold my hands up. I was very critical when they drafted him. And, again, I don't know what he's going to be. I'm not saying I trust him he's going to be, a Pro Bowl caliber tackle. I'm not saying that. But what I've seen from him, and I've said this before, is the kind of length and the kind of strength he has, 31 bench reps, allows him to play with a little bit less technique with his hands that I criticized in college. He gets away with it because there's not a lot of 6'7" guys who put up that kind of strength on the bench rep. If anybody who works out or knows anything about the bench reps and the combines, those are usually, if are shorter armed, barrel-chested guys, much easier. When you have guys like Jake Long, I remember, 6'7", long arms, 37 reps. These guys can extend their arms and also anchor. His technique's not the greatest, but I think he'll do enough to get by where he's not an issue. And a healthy James Daniels and Jonah Savianaya, I think you're a better offensive line. I think this could be one of the most improved units we have from last year.
For sure. I can't say that, yes, now they're 100% better because you have to see it and you have to hope that they retain and stay healthy. Because last year, part of the problem was just the injuries, the rotation, guys playing this, there, and the other where. I think that spots 6 through 9 are a problem. The depth is still a problem. I can't imagine what will happen if there's a significant or two injury, God forbid. But these 5 going into as a set 5, I think the better 5 across the board that they've had in the last several years. And let's see where they put veteran free agent James Daniels, whether they put him next to Paul, next to Austin Jackson. There's a lot of schools of thought differentiating where each should play. I will defer to the Butch Barrys, and the Mike McDaniels and the experts out there who could talk line play a bit more eloquently than I can. But it would be an idea to maybe put the veteran next to Paul in Daniels to maybe mask any potential learning curve. Or if you just want to just throw caution to the wind and put Jonah next to Paul, it could be your better risk reward, so to speak. It could benefit them, but will it benefit them week 1, week 2, week 3 instead of year 3 for Paul and year 2 for Savianaya?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's where I stand on which side they'll play. I think whatever I was worried about the argument before the draft about putting a rookie next to Paul, But since it's Savianaya, I hope I said that right. I'm pretty confident if he's better at left and they feel more comfortable, I'm okay with it. I think he is mature enough and he's ready now. There'll be mistakes, but I don't have as much as issue as I did before. I think let's see where, because somebody has a better position. Like, they can play both. Well, like somebody said, it's like wiping your in the bathroom, wiping your butt with the other hand. Excuse me. Think about it. It's true. Somebody has they can do both, but somebody has a better position, right? So whatever they feel more comfortable. The whole argument was don't put a rookie next to the inexperienced Patrick Paul. With Savianaya, I'm not so I'm not as worried. If we drafted a guard in the 3rd or 4th round, maybe. I think that and plus it's been described that Paul looks slimmer. He's older. He's been in the system. I trust Butch Berry. So it'll be interesting. I think this will play out. I think you'll know pretty early on. I think they already probably have an idea. Again, we're not privy to which, they can't really tell you which side, these guys line up on. But I mean, if I had to guess, probably Daniels goes on the left side to start camp and Savianaya on the right side. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Again, let's see.
That's a safe play, right?
Yeah. It's probably the safe play. Yeah.
Yeah.
The short of the long, it's a safe play.
One thing we forgot to mention on the cornerback thing is Cam Smith. We were told that he's been running with the 3rd and 4th team, so we didn't mention Cam Smith for a reason. I'm not buying it. I think, we'll get back to the O-line here, but on the Cam Smith stuff, I just want to say this. Decisions or cost organizations moves. Everybody sided with Cam Smith a lot of people sided with Cam Smith on the Fangio thing. I never understood why. The guy's been in the league for how many years and done this. We talk about off the field stuff. That's great. Here's the reality. Maybe Cam Smith just can't play. And that's the reality of it. His work ethic, he parties, all that other kind of stuff. Maybe he can't play. One guy left and won a Super Bowl. One guy is still buried in the depth chart where he was when he left. And so what's Weaver's thought on it? Same thing. So decisions, again, by the organization. When we talk about leadership, those kind of decisions, they always usually left. Have you noticed? And part of the problem in the past with 2 decisions, Breeze Culpepper, this guy, Sewell Waddle, every decision, even if it comes out that it's a okay decision, they're always on the wrong side of it. That's part of the problem. And this is just another case. I just wanted to get that out there. Look, I hope Cam, make something of his career. I don't wish the guy, to be, I hope he does well. But like Bo Kemper said, 3rd or 4th in the depth chart with guys in front of him. And we forgot to mention Ethan Bonner too.
We talked on Bonner.
We talked about Bonner. Yeah.
Smith,
but anything on Cam Smith before we move back to the O-line?
I mean, real quick on him, if not the last few years, when? And I think it's an issue where McDaniel even called him out without really calling him out. There's a lot of interesting words.
Yeah, I was surprised.
McDaniel always throws in a nice little word salad when he answers questions. But in this particular case with Cam Smith, it's like, yeah, he's looking great. He's doing well. But the question is, what is he going to do tomorrow? Is he going to stack this? Is he going to get another? I'm paraphrasing, but if you read in between the lines, it's almost like he was killing him with kindness, but at the same time saying, great, you did well today, but you have to do well tomorrow. You can't take a step forward and take 2 steps back. And I don't think Cam has taken the proper amount of consistent steps forward. That could be the classroom, that could be the field, it could be both. It could be just simple as keeping his body right. I don't know, but it's not working so far. And there are other candidates out there.
Yeah, and I was never very high on him coming out.
I missed on that. I'll say this. I was excited when they drafted him. Okay. I missed.
Yeah, we all have our the guys who get paid millions of dollars to do this. If you hit 50% of the time, you're good. So that's what people don't understand. I didn't love him. I didn't love that he had a relationship with Greer's son. I thought that might have influenced the pick. I hate that. I didn't say I think I had him in the 60s in that draft, and he went 51. So I'm not saying shouldn't have been picked. I just didn't love him. I didn't see the big athleticism that everybody talked about. I just think the guy doesn't have the skills. Maybe he's not good enough, and we can put all the excuses in the world. But let's hope for the best. Let's get back to the O-line now. We veered off. Improved. My answer is yes. I think this is going to be the most improved units, and I want to talk a little bit about we talked about Savi and I, right? And we talked about Grant at the top, how the teammates are noticing him. We talked about McDaniel says the teammates have earned the respect with Kenneth Grant. You know, James Daniels said this about Savi and I. He said he's always texting me. He's always texting other players asking for advice. He's always working after practice, and he's pretty excited to see his development. You see the theme here? Working after practice, work endlessly, work ethic. You know, this is all good stuff, man, on guys who have talent and size and play on the trenches. Like, hallelujah. We've been talking about this for 5 years. You know, and when you get it's not a better compliment than when the players recognize you're good. Because those are the first guys who know what you really are, the guys you line up against in practice and play against. They can tell they are the true judgment of how good of a guy is when you hear them say these kind of things. This is not like Tyreek Hill pumping up to it because he had to. This is James Daniels, a veteran offensive lineman. So, again, I think Jonah is a big piece here.
Agreed. And, I think all of these young kids that they brought in could not all, half the class could be potential captains in the future, at least.
Yes. And what do you think, James? We got to talk about that. He was the big acquisition. Achilles is no joke, right? So from all indications, by early training camp, he should be getting should be cleared, right? To do full teamwork, we hope. The one thing I think he's going to bring more than anything is physicality in the run game. How much of an impact, how much of an upgrade truly, when we talk about improve the offense, is he from those guys? I mean, was Daniel somebody that I remember you liked him a lot. You think it's a massive upgrade than what we had? And does the Achilles concern you a little bit? Because if he could be healthy, but maybe he's 70% of what he is early on, maybe the first 8 games.
Yes, of course. And Achilles is always worrisome, but it's an injury that they made remarkable strides with recently. And it's not the sentence or the career ender that it was 20, 30 years ago, what have you, or instantaneous destroying of a career. But what it does, James Daniels, in the mindset with bringing in Savaiinaea also, this is your identity shift culture when the following can happen consistently. When it is on the road, cold weather, 3rd and inches, 4th and inches, and everyone should know that a run up the middle is coming. It is at that point when the Dolphins can say, yes, we're going to do it. Try to stop us. And if Ollie Gordon or Achane or Wright can just run behind Daniels, run behind Savaiinaea with Aaron Brewer helping, and it is a seamless, or as seamless as you can get, process to just make Mike McDaniel confident to run forward on his play calls on those short yardage scenarios. Because forget the speed there. We've always wanted the power aspect back. This is the change. And Daniels, I think, can jumpstart that. So when we see it and it works and everyone's expecting it, and despite that it's still working, that's the guy who I think we're going to look to as one of the main sparks to this potential change.
Yeah. And
remains to be seen.
We want to be physical. And I'll tell you what, there was one comment that Daniels made that got me fired up.
Which one?
He said, let me find the quote. Yeah, I mean, we run the ball a lot. You can't not be physical and run. You can't just toss the ball every play and just circle defense.
That's the subliminal message.
Let's go, James Daniels. I hope it's not just James Daniels. I hope this is a attitude change of the offense this year. And I'm confident that it might be, guys. The Ollie Gordon pick, the Savaiinaea pick, these are all signs of we're getting bigger. We want to get the soft label. And Daniel's saying, hey, you have to be physical and run, basically. This ain't college. That whole thing we were doing before lasted 9 games. The fastball got hit. 99. You're a baseball fan. The easiest pitch is to hit a flat 98 fastball, guys. The hardest one is the 84 mile an hour changeup. Yeah, or the curveball. And that's what they haven't developed. And then what you do is you develop that with the power running game. That's your changeup. And what happens? It opens up the batter's lead. And then a high heat 98 right by him with the Tyreek Hill touchdown. For you baseball fans, that is what they need to do, and that's where McDaniel's got to come in, and that's where he's responsible. And he's got to be.
Importantly, I'm sorry to jump in here, but almost more importantly, this is tailor-made for changing the culture that the Dolphins are up by a possession, and you need to run the damn clock and end the game. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing more fun than an offensive line group to just say, all right, we've been crushing them on the run all game. Let's just destroy him in these 6 minutes left and have a 6-minute drive to then kneel on the ball when you get that last first down. That is when we will know. It's in the middle of the games on the short yardage and at the end of the game when they're up, when they just simply need to kill a clock more than a couple of minutes and own the time of possession when it matters most, the last portions of the game, and just keep the other defense exhausted while your big guys are having a ball just pushing forward 5 yards, 8 yards, 12 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards. That's what I'm waiting for.
All right, so when the offensive line coming on, I said they'll be better. I think it could be one of the more improved units. Do you think it's a better group than last year? How significant do you think they are better? How significantly better do you think they are?
I think that there's the potential that they can be significantly better. Let me throw an asterisk on that and say, let me see it when it's there. Because if Patrick Paul comes in the first 3 or 4 games,
I think he's the key to this, Jason.
I would agree. I mean, because you pay the money into James Daniels, you know what he's done because you're paying for what he's done. You trade up for Jonnu Smith because there's the value there. You traded up to get him. You should throw him into the fire. He should work right away. I don't want to hear the comparisons of another person that they drafted and traded up for whatever. But this is a different type of player than.
He's still on the team, by the way, right?
I know. Different type of player than Liam. But Patrick Paul, second rounder, learned from Teron Armstead, continues to learn as friends from Teron Armstead. Bo Camper alluded to it, So I agree. He's the key. But if those 5 can come together and it works and they stay healthy, this is the ground zero of the culture shift is right here in what they could do with this offensive line.
And I know a lot of people are doom and gloom about the season, but if you're healthy and the O-line is that improved and they can run the football and they get some momentum and they don't that is built for more, believe it or not, for December and January football. You know what I mean? If the offense, it's the key. It's the key to the season.
The crazy part about all this is like you miss a playoff by a game or a half. A game and a half, however you want to slice it with whatever happened at the end of the year last year. And then you ask yourself, what did they not have at significant portions of last year? A healthy offensive line, the trio of pass rushers, 6 more games of Tua Tagovailoa. You know what I mean? So, yes, I don't want to deal the hopium, but the crazier things have happened in this league than the Dolphins maybe being able to get 9-10 wins if they stay remarkably healthy. So it starts here with the offensive line. If they work, if they stay healthy, that floor goes up. I think that floor goes up.
Floor goes up, no doubt. The floor rises. I don't know if you can break the ceiling, but the floor rises.
There's no ceiling. Yeah. There is a ceiling, actually. There is a ceiling.
Yeah, I think there might. All right. Let's move on. I know this is a topic you would really like. I'll let you start Hill. I'll let you start here. Hill, Waddle, and this is about the targets not named Hill and Waddle. I have a few theories on it. Go for it. Tell me what you think about the weaponry beyond those 2 big guys.
Remember Mad Men? I've got 2 words for you. Malik Washington. The memes where you're like, you just got to work him in. You got to work him into the slot. You got to work him into the outside.
I see the chemistry with Tua. I'm seeing it.
Look at what happened. I mean, look, yes, was a rookie last year. Did he destroy the stat sheet? No. His first 12 games, rather pedestrian. 13 games, rather pedestrian. But the last quarter of the season quadrupled his production. Now, that might mean 4 or 5 targets, 3, 4 catches again. You know what I'm saying? But there was a tease of what his potential was, and he was the second highest in kick return average the Dolphins have seen from a rookie since Daryl Harris. And there's a name that Dolphins fans remember too, from his dual responsibility.
We're really going back we've gone in the archives today.
Hey man,
that shows what kind of fans we are. That shows the pain we've been through.
You like comparisons. I like comparisons. So if
you like comparisons, wait, you like comparisons. I like what?
Comparisons. Oh,
Percentages.
well, percentages. Oh, you sent me over there.
Come on, Jason. Oh.
Nice. I get like electrical shock when someone asks me for percentages. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But,
leave the percentages for me.
That is yours.
Yeah.
That is yours. But I remember a certain receiver came into the league as a first rounder for the Dolphins who had to sit behind a duo. Okay. But he returned kicks and punts. Same as OJ McDuffie. And he was behind Irving Fryer, behind Mark Ingram. And then when those guys left, I'm not saying Hill and Waddle are leaving, but Hill eventually will leave. Juice stepped up as that slot specialist, the chain mover, and became one of the best receivers in Dolphins history. Now, I am not crowning Malik as that just yet, but I see a progression where, you know what, if there's another year of heavy kick return, punt return, and working him in, he's going to develop and get a couple of handoffs here and there. He hasn't scored a receiving touchdown. He scored a rushing touchdown on a beautiful sweep reverse, whatever the heck the play was against the Rams. I think it was a reverse. But and he took it out on the outside and hit the pylon and scored for his first career touchdown. This kid is a dog, intelligent, big-time yards after catch. You're not going to get him down with the first hit. He shows that toughness in his return game. So there's my third target, not outside of the wide receiver room. Clearly the third target is Achane, and then you got Smith as he's coming back. But the wide receiver room, Malik Washington is going to break through and continue his hot finish to last season's last couple of games.
All right. So I agree with you on Malik Washington. I was going to start with that. We talked about a lot about NWI, Nick Westbrook, Ignaya. Shout out to everybody in the chat: Adrian, Beach, Jake,
there we go.
Tom Pritz, Diebar, Finch, everybody in the chat who's been in the chat. Thank you guys. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Come on over to YouTube, watch for this. This is a fun show. We talked about him, and I have my concerns because, and he's been kind of silent, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the quarterbacks. This offense is based on timing and throwing to a spot and trusting your receiver gets there before the DB. My only concern with him is I never thought he had that quite skill set to do that. He's not the quick, twitchy guy that like a Malik Washington is. No. And I thought you saw that in training camp. He wasn't making plays. But where he did make plays, he started to come alive in the red zone, right? So I think the number 3 receiver belongs to Malik Washington based on the fit of this offense, because you have to be quick, short area quickness, twitchy, get to that spot. You got to beat the DB to that spot because they're just throwing it to an area. This offense is all about anticipation and timing. It's what to his strengths. And we're going to talk about that, what I like about what they're doing when we get to the quarterbacks next. So everybody stay tuned because we're going to get to the 2 hot topics here at the end. But I think NWI is a guy who almost has to be the other Jonnu Smith kind of role, when the middle of the field, the big physical guy, because he blocks pretty well. He blocks probably as good as Jonnu Smith, if I'm being honest. He's a pretty good blocker. So, and if you do move off Jonnu, right, that's another question. Let's say they do end up trading. We think maybe he gets re-signed. But if they do end up trading him, I think then that opens up some stuff for NWI. But I think Malik on, second and 15 is your third wide receiver. I think in this offense, that was my only concern. I like the idea of Nick Westbrook and the big physical receiver, but you're not gonna win any races. He's not real quick in short area. That's shout out to Eric Smith. He's been great.
Coach.
Oh, he was fantastic. Eric, can't wait to have you on again, man. He says you see guys like Juwan Jennings who are quick twitch, who aren't quick to do well in this offense, and particularly in the run game. That's the type I roll. I see nailed it with the Jonnu in terms of absolutely. And I couldn't agree with more. But as far as when that third wide receiver, Eric, he's not going to get to that spot like as quick as a Malik. But you're right. His blocking and the stuff that Jonnu does is absolutely where I see it in the run game. You are completely right. But as the weapon, third pass catching weapon, I go with Malik. But Eric's spot on as always.
To piggyback off of that, and Eric, appreciate you definitely for sure. Yes, they're not the same position in Jonnu Smith and NWI, but when you get to the red zone, last year NWI in the red zone, 7 receptions, 6 touchdowns. So very similar to what Jonnu Smith did in the red zone last year for the Dolphins. Now, if they're both on this roster, then that could be a whole fun number of combinations that you could do with everybody. But if you do lose Jonnu, you can see a lot of those numbers in certain areas probably shifting on over to Westbrook. So, you said it best. The third receiver in that room, I think, on the whole, is Malik Washington, and a very fun specialty guy who could take a role in the red zone, big time, NWI.
Yeah. I think the red zone is where he's going to make his money. I think you saw it in practice. Didn't hear his name, but then he had a hell of a practice in the red zone work.
I believe he's got an undisclosed injury that he's been kind of getting through.
Yeah, I heard that.
But
we'll see. That could affect him.
It seems he'll be fine.
I think these guys are going to continue to get better as he gets used to the offense and the chemistry of the quarterbacks. But I think Malik's the guy that we say takes a big jump this year. And I was high on Malik. My number 100 player on my board last year before we did a board here, and he was drafted in the 6th round. So there was a good 24 board as well, Jason. But don't worry, the on-season, we'll be back next year.
Yes.
So you guys better get ready. Have all the stuff. I know it's a long way away, but make sure you bookmark everything because we're going to be back better than ever. And we have a lot of new stuff coming up for this season, by the way. Thank everybody in the chat who's joining us. Again, we're going to these topics. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Come on over to YouTube, hang out with us. This is where you should be. This is a fun show. Let's get in. Okay. Tight end wise, they trade Jonnu. You trust Tanner Conner? That's your guy?
Wow, you really put me on the spot with
that. I forgot because that's one of the things I want to talk about. There's a chance that they trade Jonnu. Who is that guy? Is it Tanner? Is finally the Tanner Conner experience going to come to fruition here? The answer is no, most likely. But that's why I can't believe they're going to trade him.
If they do trade him, which I as I said earlier, I think as we stand now today, they re-sign him. They come together for a deal. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Hayden Ruckey last year.
The Wisconsin Badger.
Pedigree, his pop played Penn State, NFL guy. But, Tanner Conner's a good story, sure. But they need, I think, a little bit more of a blocking Y type of a tight end. If they're going to move completely away from a Jonnu, they're going to probably use that tight end spot. Farrell Brown.
And then let NWI eat in the middle.
There it is. And that's it. You can't.
That could be listen, we talk about tight end. That could be their thinking. That just could be what they're thinking. Who knows what's going on in that front office's mind? I certainly can't figure it out. All right. So do we like the weapons better than last year, or is it a push for you? Well, I think I like it because I think Malik's going to be better. And we've got to talk about Gordon. Are we just talking about, can Gordon, you added him, you lost Mostert.
Potential.
It's kind of a push for me, right?
Well, here's what I would like. Yeah. I would like to get off the 2,000-yard campaign if you're Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, please.
And again, I'd like to sprinkle it all over. Yes, it does make a difference. It's not just stacking yardage. I think that they do have a potential, as opposed to the last few years, to really spread the ball out and have their third or fourth receivers actually make an impact. You love a River Craycraft. You love a Braxton Berrios because we're Dolphin fans. That's what we do. But they averaged a half of a target a game, essentially, when they were even healthy. So you need guys who aren't just guys who are kind of tough-nosed, gritty players that you'd love to see produce, guys that are planning on being targeted and those who could produce. And the Dolphins have two more guys that in Malik and in NWI that I think are better off than they were last year at this exact moment. And then you throw in Ollie Gordon, but you say goodbye to Raheem Mostert. So Mostert didn't do much of anything last year. You hope to increase Jalen Wright's output and production. So, I think that there could be higher hopes, if Tua is healthy, for this offense to do a little better.
Yeah, I agree. You want to move on to the quarterbacks, guys?
Yeah, if there's nothing in controversy yet, let's just talk quarterback.
Let's talk quarterbacks. Everybody, come on. More thumbs up, more likes, and then we're gonna get into the quarterback. Something I like that's going on here. We're gonna talk about the backup quarterback position. You want to start, Jason? Or you want to give me the go ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I think biggest questions be going with backup quarterback. I think it's Bo mentioned on the last show, the biggest reason we missed the playoffs probably is because of drop off in the backup quarterback position. All right. It was a tremendous. Have they upgraded? I would say, yeah. I think they slightly upgraded. It's not. I'm still losing sleep over the position at night, but at least you got a guy with arm talent, quick release, to ask to do what this offense can do. There's the physical pick ability there. A guy who's a second pick overall. We're not even talking about Quinn Ewers right now. But here's where I have a little hope, okay? And I told you that I still think they should have brought in a veteran. I think, Ewers and another veteran, I think would have been the right move. I mean, not Ewers. Zach Wilson and another veteran would have been the right move. First of all, if Tua gets injured for 4 or 5 or anything more than that, you don't have a shot regardless.
We'll be starting the on-season a lot quicker.
Yeah, a lot quicker. We'll be talking about a couple of these quarterbacks that I like in next year's draft where I already started on. All right, here's where I think that I like what they're doing, because I think they're teaching now what this offense, we said, is throw to a spot, throw to an anticipation. They're now teaching the quarterbacks to do what Tua does and the strength he has. It's not just feed Tua the timing, all the refs. And this is the first time we'll talk about Wilson, what he said. They asked him to get the ball out quicker. I'll read what he said. It's crazy because I never been told before in the past places. Hey, you're late. Wilson told. Never has been told, even with the strong arm. I think understanding. He also said understanding how guys run route is everything. I threw an interception yesterday because somebody came out a little bit flatter than I was anticipating, but I absolutely ripped it with conviction. The ball sailed over his head, but that's the kind of trust factor. Now I'm going to run that. That's the kind of trust factor I like. Okay, now he's going to run that route a little bit flatter and still throw it in timing. If I would have waited, maybe I still would have completed it, but that's not what this offense is asking. Okay, he's admitting that it's asking to throw it on time within the scheme so that these fast guys can catch it and get some yards. So here's what they're telling him. Finally, they're taking the backup quarterback. And the biggest problem is, you know why the drop-off has been so big and nobody talks about it? Because they're putting quarterbacks in an offense that they have no skill. Who's the quarterback? Skylar Thompson didn't have a quick release. He wasn't quick twitch. Tyrod Huntley was the other quarterback, right? Totally opposite of what he does. Now you're teaching the guys the same thing that Tua does well. Will they do it as well? No. But you're teaching them how the offense might not look from the number 5 offense to the last offense in the league, because you shouldn't go that far of a drop. Now, I'm encouraged by that, because I never heard that before. This is the first time I've heard that, Jason, that they're teaching them get the ball out quicker than you have, because this kid has the talent, right? It's not Skylar Thompson. He was the 2nd overall pick, regardless of what you mean. There is talent there. Your thoughts on that theory that I just mentioned?
Well, I like the theory because you have to throw them into the fire. So when they're actually thrown into the fire, it's a little bit, they're used to it, and you're not getting that much of a down drop from your starter. Now, as for the mistake, this is exactly where you want them to make the mistakes. You want them to go into the film room after and be like, oh, damn, all right, well, I'm glad I got this out here. I'm glad I saw what my target did. I'm glad I know now what I can't do or what the target shouldn't do. Let's get together, work on that, and fix it. So even Seth Levitt when we had him on the show, another thing that he said, taking it right from him, much rather have these things happen in the summer than in the fall or in the winter. So Absolutely think it's an upgrade for sure. Now, I don't want to see Zach in. Only in fourth quarter when it's the blowout or when you know what I mean? But if he needs to come on in and win a game or two, or at least go 500 in multiple games, whatever, they are putting him, I think, in position to move the offense a heck of a lot better than the other options in the past several years. There's other backup quarterbacks that took over for Tua that just didn't cut the mustard. Jacoby Brissett, Teddy Bridgewater.
It's because
it just didn't happen.
Because they're openly admitting what this offense is, and we know that. You're not throwing to the receiver. You are throwing to where you think the receiver will be. It's a trust, timing, out quick. It's reading the defense. You're throwing against defensive coverages. You got to teach your backups to do the same thing. That's how the offense doesn't drop off dramatically. Look, Tua's clearly above those guys, but you cannot have an offense look night and day like that. Teams win with backup quarterbacks. You're asking the team to go 2-2 against if he misses 4 games, right?
And it's also the drastic taking away of your other skill positions.
Yes,
because
your whole offense is built around that.
When you look at the horrible differentiation of Tyreek and Jalen's production without Tua, if you look at Devon Achane without Tua, imagine if he had Tua for those 5 games, 4 games, whatever the math would have been, his numbers would have been bonkers on top of what they already were last year. So Tua is the straw that stirs the drink in this offense. And that's just the long and the short of it. So at least they're teaching someone to do it that way if they need to.
Yeah, and they're acknowledging it, right? And I think, is it just because they have a guy they think fits it now? These 2 guys and Ewers, and they're both like arm talent guys, get the ball out quick, good throwing motions, quick wrist release. They're all those kind of guys. They had to get guys who can do that. Maybe that just was the scenario. But then again, as to Beach's point, why did it take McDaniel to figure that out? Well, it's been a while, and we'll talk about McDaniel here in a minute. It's been a while for him to figure a lot of things out. The Skyler experience, it's very simple. Your weapons are built around not only Jason is Tua's strength, but you've got weapons based on those strengths. Not to say Hill and Waddle won't do good in any offense, but specifically, that's what they got: the yard at the catch, a separation. You remember before they got these guys, they didn't have guys who could create any separate. Like Devontae Parker is not good in this offense. You know what I mean? The corner will jump in front of every pass because he'll get there before Devontae Parker. So
very important to know, because Tua is not going to zip a ball through the needle and get it in between. That's what Dan Marino did. It's different. It's just
Tua is two yards ahead. He's already 2 yards ahead. That's his superpower. And that's why in this offense, you see what he does and the efficiency level he has, because he has an unbelievable ability to anticipate, and the accuracy is not doorknob accuracy, it's the keyhole accuracy, right? That's what makes him special. And you have to teach your quarterbacks, even if they're not as accurate, that this is what you got to trust the receiver's going to get there, throw the spot, give them a chance to make plays. I'm glad they're teaching. It encouraged me, whether I like Zach Wilson or not. I don't think Zach Wilson's a big upgrade, right? They didn't upgrade the backup quarterback position tremendously by any means. But you got a guy who has a skill level and ability and physical talent to maybe execute the plan and come in and let's go 2-2. Because if Tua misses 6, 7, 8 games of the season, it doesn't matter who's coming in. You're maybe winning 8 games if everything breaks right, 7 at the most. So that's that. But I'm encouraged by that. And as far as Ewers, up and down, uneven camp, it's still early. Let's not get crazy with that either. He's a 7th round pick for a reason, like Kim Bogeber said. But yeah, anybody in the chat, do you guys agree with that? Anything you want to add on the quarterback position, the backup, or anything like that you heard or seen throughout minicamp?
As far as I'm concerned, I think it moves the needle a little bit. Obviously, with Zach Wilson, it definitely does. Again, if he's going to start one game, you got to move the offense at 80% capacity from what Tua has, not 8% capacity. So that's all for me. That's it. Yeah. And Ewers is a nice flyer. I'll give him a nice flyer pick who you could maybe hope to challenge Wilson either this year, maybe for a backup role, or just become an extremely good backup next year, the year after that, and then maybe have a career.
All right. Let's move on to our last topic. And I think this was an eye-opening topic for me. And that is the culture change. We've heard everybody talk about this, from players to coaches to media to I'll let you start. What is your thought on this whole culture change? I got my opinions on it. I want to read some quotes. You go first on this one.
The words are phenomenal. The mindset's phenomenal. The plan, can't wait to see it. But until it's actually implemented on the field with some of the things I said earlier, where if you know something's coming, Dolphins are going to run up the middle. Well, you know what? They're just going to run straight through you. And they're on the road and it's cold weather. All those things have to happen for me to buy into it happening. But there's no save of effort. They're obviously trying. They're obviously trying to do it. And the personnel, Sure, with the rookies, they're bringing in leaders and guys who are wise beyond their years. Some of the free agents, they're not making huge splashes as much as they're bringing in functional pieces that can help just move the needle, albeit slightly. So, yeah, let's see. And for McDaniel, what he has to do is correct some of those mistakes, those minor mistakes. But when those minor mistakes pile up, 5, 6, 7 of them, your timeout usage, your challenge usage, your when and where you're play calling and what type of a play, your delegation skills. These are all things that I think will have to start with him, and if we could see it, it'll translate on the field. Fantastic. But if they don't change under McDaniel, the stage is set for them to do so, whether it be under Weaver or another person who will come in with a basically turnkey bunch of people who are without some bigger personalities. Obviously, your Ramsey will be at the door. Next year, I don't think Hill will be here. So they're in, as Big O said. We had Orlando Alzagari, the Big O show, a couple weeks ago, a couple shows ago. And he said it's a transition year. And I like that word. I like it in terms of they're transitioning into this new identity. Will they make that full leap into it this season? Let's see. I hope so.
Yeah,
but they're trying.
All right. So, look, I think they're definitely trying. I think it's the biggest reason they want Ramsey out of here and some other guys that left. I have no doubt they're trying. I believe it. They're all words. But here's what the problem is. You don't find out who the true leaders are and what really the culture is until adversity hits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all nice now. Everybody's 0-0. We haven't had a 2-game losing streak. But I think the one thing I thought Bradley Chubb was very open and honest about this. And I want to talk about what he said. I want to read what he said because to me, it opened my eyes on something that I've heard, but now this is the first time publicly that kind of said anything. He said it's not necessarily him changing regarding – asked Chubb if McDaniel needs to change. It's more about us, man. How about we accept that he's telling us, like, he may have a joking way of getting a serious point across, but it's up to us in the room to be like, okay, he might have said it funny, but at the end of the day, this is what we're doing. This is how we're moving about it. And as a team, this is what we're going to do. He also added, so not much of him has changed. I would say the people around him and the buy-in of the players that he wants to change, and guys are taking accountability. And he talked about last year. He said last year wasn't real. It was all smoke, basically. He said, I'm going to say last year we were lying, honestly, which I like that he said that. He said point blank period, we felt it. We put our toe in the water, but we didn't dive all the way in. We didn't get all the way there with each other. We weren't making the effort to go on the extra mile. And I would say this year we're doing that. Okay, so what this tells me is Mike McDaniel doesn't have control of this locker room. That's the first thing. This is an indictment to me. After reading this, I don't know how you brought him back. And I get, Big O says a lot of things, but we've heard both. I've heard that the players don't buy into what McDaniel's saying. He's basically saying McDaniel was a joke. We never took him seriously. Anything he said, anything. So you got to change to the head coach. So who's running the show? Who's the leader? The coach, or is a prisoners running the asylum? This is a bad look for McDaniel. I'm sorry, Jason. This stuff doesn't change. This is showing you players don't respect Mike. They look at him as a substitute teacher. So all of a sudden, they're going to treat the substitute teacher like your real teacher. And based on what they've done this offseason, and just seeing all this, it doesn't look good for Mike, man. Jason, I'm telling you, we talked about a lot about changes in the coaching staff, especially when you have an Anthony Weaver. And look, a lot of things could change. I would like none other than this team surprise me and make the second round of the playoffs. Okay, you and I both would be happy. It'd be good for the program and the show. But to me, this is an indictment on the coach and the team. It's a bad look. This opened my eyes, and I knew this for a while. But this is publicly saying, like, yeah, he was. We were throwing paper airplanes at the chalkboard while we were in the meeting, basically. Your thoughts?
I mean, clearly it all starts with the man in charge, and that is McDaniel. But it's just, you can't fit a square peg into a circular hole, and that's what kind of McDaniel is in terms of his personality. He's not going to be effective trying to change it. The only way through a very successful survival for McDaniel with him just being himself is the players to just be that good on the field and do it for themselves almost. Which means I agree with you.
But you understand my point, though, right?
I fully do.
Like, they're basically telling you that we didn't respect the guy.
You're not having the reincarnation of Don Shula walk through the hall or the door in Mike McDaniel's body, and no one's going to change that way.
It can't be too much the other way, though, is what I'm saying. It can't be the substitute teacher theory. You know what I mean? That's like when you think of like Joe Philbin. You know what I mean? It's not to that level, but like you're not what he says. You're not taking seriously. All of a sudden, it's going to change. Those things don't change. You know. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're right though. It's like you want to try to like.
You can't force Mike to be. Mike came in with the problem. With Mike and the whole happened is he came in as the head coach of Tua. I said that more and more. It's not a knock against Tua. That's basically how he came in. That's fixed. You got Tua where you needed to be. Now you got to cross the other side of the locker room. And, you got to stare Jordan Brooks in the eye and motivate him and lead him and make sure he's leading the team. I know a guy on the staff that can do that. I know he can motivate. I think Weaver can motivate Jordan Brooks, but he also can motivate, Devon Achane or Hill or James Daniels. I like Mike. I think Mike's done a tremendous job. And I hope it works out. I hope he's surprised. But it just, when your players, when Chubb basically tells you, he kind of threw the coach under the bus without throwing him under the bus. Like, yeah, we laughed at him. We didn't take his seriously. He kind of joked about, shout out to Big E. Thank you, Big E, for reposting the stream. Make sure everybody come on to YouTube here. Check us out on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that like if you're watching anywhere else. Guys, please come on over to YouTube. Thank you, Big E. Big E, we're going to try to put the link out again for you. Everybody go follow Big E's page, who has all the links where you can help with the donation, the donor, sorry, and help him out because nobody deserves it more than him. And let's try to get Big E going before the season. Let's get it in motion and get him going.
Big E, appreciate you. Happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day, Big E. I hope you enjoyed your day and I hope you're feeling better. And we'll get you on the show again sometime soon. All right. So, what was my point? About
culture.
So that's where it is. That's where it's at. That's where the issue is. And I've said it all the time. I asked Bo, are they going to take can they all of a sudden everybody in that room look at each other and say, all right, Mike's throwing a joke. Let's take it serious now. This was an experiment, and Mike was always going to be a risk hire, and he's done really good. But I think here's the problem. When you hit the wall and you're not as successful, the other stuff, development has to come in that hasn't come in with him as a coach, and now we're starting to see that.
I'm very interested to see the first 4 or 5 weeks. If they start off like gangbusters and are 4-1, then we got something. But if they're anything below 500 going into the 6th, 7th game, this is massive trouble. And they go into a gauntlet that they could return home from the international game against the Commanders. They could be like 3-8 after that. They theoretically could be that way. So if you come out of the gates firing, then McDaniel, let's see it, but it's got to be on the field from the players, despite the uniqueness of McDaniel, because there's fun to him. But when it was working in 2003, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then people caught up, coaches caught up, but now you still have the aspect of speed, and you got to try to add in that toughness. Let's see if McDaniel could put it all together.
Yeah, we got over 120 people in total watching on all platforms. Guys, take a minute. Come over to YouTube, please. If you're watching anywhere else, hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. Comment in the video comments. Get in the chat. We're almost wrapping up here, but we are almost 130 now. Guys, come on over.
Moshe makes a good point that, coordinators, assistant coaches, Bevel and Smith, give them more responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, take things out of Mike's jurisdiction. I don't know exactly who had what role or other roles or other nuances of the week, but McDaniel, I think, has to simplify things. If he just simplify it, or work harder during the week to create such a method to make it so simple during the game. Change what the last couple of years of problems were, shooting this team in their own feet and their own spikes, with bad timeouts, with bad challenges. These are things that I think he could delegate to people out there, and let's see if those people run with the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm hoping
more responsibility.
I think the other problem is the jokes don't get when the jokes stop being funny and they stop being cute, and you're not winning. That all works. Now it's time to get more serious, and let's see how he handles it. I got my doubts. I think it's very hard to change, do a 180. You are who you are. He came in as the ultimate player empowerment coach, and he'll end up leaving as the ultimate player empowerment coach. But you got to win games. You got to win playoff games to be the ultimate player empowerment coach, or then the things start coming out. You're not as funny as I once was. The message is not getting across. Yeah, you help Tua, but like, what else are we doing here? The offense is still struggling. Where are we going? And these are some of the questions I think Jalen Ramsey had. Jalen doesn't get off the hook, but these are some of the things that they also had. Well, I think we went through 7 of these topics. I hope you guys liked all these topics. We are camp begins the end of July, right? Something like that. Training camp end of July, early August. I know we got how many days until camp, Jason?
No, what is that, like 6 weeks? So we got some time, but it'll creep up.
Yeah. How many days till the season?
Oh, 83.
Oh, 83.
I don't know why that number was on my head.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that, right? We'll leave it at that. Just it's an interesting number, 83.
A little bit.
Not only, we'll leave. I'll stop.
Just stop.
We got a lot of good things lined up for you guys coming up. Stick with us. We got Ryder McCorville this Thursday, 7:30 p.m., I believe.
Ryder is fantastic. He's one of the best film people in the game. Can't wait to pick his brain.
You've heard all our opinions. We're gonna get him on and let him speak on the guys.
Yep.
Ryder's the type of guy you let him on. Like, you've heard me and Jason beat these same guys to death, but he really goes through everything. That's basically what his channel is focused on. It's just
my question will be phrased to him. Okay, Jordan Phillips, go.
Yeah, BJ Adams.
How cool is that?
We know, you know what I mean. He'll share some of the same opinions. The difference is he does not only draft stuff, but he goes on and breaks down like every player on the roster, like the 4th string guard, and he has on his channel. He does fantastic work. So, on Thursday, is it 7:30 or 8? I don't know. We're doing 7:30.
Well, I think we're doing 7:30, but
okay. We'll let you.
We'll let you know.
And then, after that, we got fun stuff coming up. We got some other guests coming up. Stay tuned. Guys, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment on the video section. Tell us what you like. Did you agree or disagree with us? But also, when our video gets posted, when we have an episode posted that's going to happen, hit the notify button so you get notified, enable the alert when we go live so you don't miss anything. We appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody who tuned in, guys. This has been a fun show. We'll be back Thursday with Ryder McCorville on the Fins Faithful podcast. We got a ton of stuff coming up. So everybody, as always, stay Fins Faithful. We're out. Fins up, guys.